In this video, I'm going to show 3 lessons that I've learned over my first week of writing so that it can be, as relatable as possible to provide the most value as possible. The first thing, number one, is without a skill set in prose and being able to write and to write well in the way that you're communicating what you see in your mind, it's difficult to write at a consistent quality. It's difficult, to take these visions in your mind and to put them on paper in a way that really resonates with the reader. I've come to really learn that sometimes I'll feel like I'm not making as good momentum, so I start writing at a lower quality. If you're not presenting it in a way that's consistent in quality and the way that it's written and the voice that it's written in, then it's just going to be need to be revised later on anyways. And so that's a key lesson that I've been learning is that I can't always be writing at the same quality and I have to take it in chunks. And everybody's different and everyone will approach it differently. But for me, that's been an obvious thing that I'm needing to learn is that I can't just go in and write 10,000 words because even if I put 10,000 words on the page, I'd have to go edit a bunch of it because my skill set is not quite there. And although I've taken several classes and learned a lot about prose and been, writing, I've been writing part-time, on the side of my job for quite a while, over the last 6 to 9 months, really getting into that. But I'm now just going into it full-time and realizing that, when you're only doing something for an hour, it's very different from doing it, throughout the whole day. And so it's a new skill set to learn and a new approach. And I've learned that I just need to slow down and write at my skill level. And maybe one day in the future, I'll be able to write faster. But right now, I have to slow down and really think about it and write it slowly to make sure that my prose is consistent, so that as I do become a better writer, that quality will be there. I'll just be able to do it, better and faster and in an improved way. So that's the first lesson I've learned. The second lesson I've learned is that it is important to set apart time, because there's no longer the structure. If you're going into it full time, you're trying to do it, throughout the whole day, to create something, to build something. The thing that I've learned is it's important to set apart time because, when you're going throughout the day and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You don't quite have the structure around it. It can get a bit chaotic, and it can be easy to lose track of time and to not make meaningful progress. And in writing full time, I'm learning is it's important to treat it like a job. But like I said before in the first item, that you're not always able to produce the same level of quality throughout all the different hours. So it's a whole new thing to learn, and it's something that I'm learning, and I'll share in the coming weeks as I learn better ways to manage that. But it's not an easy thing, and I know the idea of writing a book is very exciting, and when you first get into it, it's like it's a rush. But as you start, once you're writing 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 words over days and even weeks, it can start to wear on you, and the excitement kind of wears off, and it becomes work. And that's not a surprise, but at the same time, it is always a bit surprising when that excitement turns into a feeling of this is just work. And so, in order to really accomplish that work, there has to be structure and there has to be set apart time. And it just depends on how people approach it differently. But for me, it's a key thing I've learned is I need to shape my like when I'm highest productivity throughout the day, with my writing, and when I'm lower productivity into other things like creating this video to share these experiences. And so that's the second thing. The third thing that I've learned is I found much greater progress in my writing when I focused on the areas of my book and my story that I'm most excited about. And something I've been worried about, and maybe others can relate to this, is this concern that if I just jump around, it'll become totally disconnected and it won't ever become a story. It'll just be a bunch of random excerpts of stories. Because leading up to this, I'd already written 30 or 40,000 words of my book, of my story. But honestly, assuming that I might have to throw out 20,000, 30,000 of those words because it wasn't really in a linear fashion. And as I've been writing it in a linear fashion, I've come to realize that, if I'm not excited about it, the reader's not going to be excited about it. If I'm not writing something that interests me and impacts me, how could someone reading it feel impacted by it? And so as I've started to shift my focus over the last few days and write the moments where I'm excited about, even if they're towards the end of the book, in the middle of the book, just big moments where I'm like, this character and that situation, is going to be so impactful and it just hits me hard. That's what I want to write about. And so that's what I've started writing. And the thing I've come to realize is all these different chunks I've had over the last several months in writing, as I've taken those, a lot of them have actually pieced together. And as I've looked at it, in a sequential order, there are these pieces that I can then web together. And I'm hopeful that as I write throughout the whole book, as I write these key moments, that I can take them and connect them together and go through and revise them and make them flow in a sequential way that makes sense for the story and for the book. So that's a key lesson that I've learned in the just the first few days, and something that I didn't realize, although I'd heard it on different videos and different just insight from other people, even on videos like this. It didn't really resonate with me until I started trying to write in order and realized that if you're not excited about it, it's not going to be exciting to read. And so it is really important to feel, what you're writing and to think about what the reader is going to feel and to make sure that there's excitement to it and that there's and when I say excitement, I don't just mean exciting and fun, but meaningful and impactful for the reader so that they do keep reading. And so these are the three key lessons that I've learned just, in my first full week of writing after leaving my full-time job to write full-time to complete this novel, at least for a period of time. And really the purpose of these videos is not necessarily to be a YouTube influencer, to have a bunch of followers, but is instead to provide consistent value in sharing my authentic experience in writing and starting out as not having a lot of skill, but then building that skill over time. Because I know those videos out there, those people out there who've shared their experiences has really impacted me and helped me and inspired me to take this leap and to really go into writing the story because I really believe in it. And I know that those of you out there who believe in your story, sometimes it just takes, taking that leap to really share it with the world. And that's something I'm excited about. And that's why I'm doing this.